Welcome back. Now we're going to look at creating a state diagram for our Tic Tac Toe game. So a state diagram is quite good, especially with games, in actually defining what part of the game we're up to. And in this case, I'm starting off by just defining a few different states highlighted from the original problem description. And in this, we will create several different state diagrams that take you from one particular state to any number of states, but generally one or two steps. So from here, we're going from the very starting state of the sign up, and then we're going through to some sort of game state. And so you can imagine this is when the player signs in. So here I'm just creating the different states, and the outcome is that we could eventually end up with some sort of draw, win for the X player or the O player, or we're in the turn state for the X or the O player. Now when we start, we will go into an unknown state, and then from there there'll generally be some sort of queries. Now the first thing is that the player will firstly come to the website and enter their name, and so that's their first action, and this action, their name, will then actually change the state from unknown to possibly having no game. Now that's if the player is being found. Now if the player hasn't been found, we'll actually create the player. In this case, that will also take the state from this game state unknown to a game state of no game. Now there is one other situation where the player is found and does have an actual game, and this will go through this process of loading up the game. Now when we load up the game, we want to actually check their last game grid state, and this game grid state will actually determine whether that game is finished, whether someone's actually won it already, or whether it's the X player or the O player turn. So this is highlighted in the flowchart design, and here we can see it highlighted in the way it impacts the state changes. And so this is the addition we have to make. You can see from this that when we build game loops, that the state changes are quite important. You'll often see in the center of the game loop switch statement that generally captures the different states and then changes to other states, especially for more sophisticated games. Now here I'm just going through and just changing the color, so I've got the green for the very starting point, and I'm highlighting the reds for the various endpoints you can wind up at. And this is our very first construction state here, where basically we can go from this unknown through to one of those final states. Now it's good to then add the database thing, so we got the reading the player name and then reading whether there's a game at the start, and then we can insert a player, so that's the red cylinder, and also check whether there's another game for that player. So now we're going to the next diagram, and I'm just going to create another state diagram. I'm going to copy the existing one and then just quickly modify this. Now in this diagram we're going from a no game state again through to one of the final game states. So we just really need this part of the diagram, and then we just modify it. Now in this case, the user will, in going from no game, actually create a move, and this move is going to be either a move onto a new game grid or a move onto an existing game that someone else has already started. Okay, so in this case, the no game will have two actions that'll take us to either an X turn or an O turn. And in this case, if we start a new game, we're going straight to the X turn state, because the X player goes first all the time. And if we go and join a game, then it's going to be different. It's going to be will be the O player, because we'll be the second player to join. So our starting position there is the game state no game, so that's why I've highlighted it green. And to go from this X turn O turn, they're going to actually make some sort of move, and this move will change the grid. The grid needs to be validated, then it'll end up in one of those final states at the bottom there. Now here we've got firstly position of a new game selected, so that's the -1 and the X turn state. or a position of a waiting game where they'll be the O player, and they'll have a game ID given as well. And that's pretty much that second state diagram taken care of. So you can see once you've got the diagram drawn up, it becomes quite straightforward. The database activity then at the end there is basically adding a move to the database. In this case, the move is going to be either a new game move or joining a waiting game move. And once we've done that, we can just add some extra comments. And in this case, with no game state, we're going to present the new game option to the player as well as existing games to the player. Now, this final diagram is a move in an existing game. So this is where we're actually in one of these states, either a GS X turn or O turn. And then from there, it's a simple, straightforward move. And that's pretty much it.